Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick look at something that's new. Well, actually, it's not really new. This, of course, is the fantastic HEEWING Ranger T-1. I have several of these. Most of them are in standard configuration, but I have a couple that are this version. This is the VTOL version. There's a little motor there on the tail, and each of these pods at the side, these nacelles, hold servos that tilt these in the front. Now, for those of you that watch the channel a lot, you'll know that I built one of these couple of months ago now, and if you've been watching, you'll also see that there was kind of a tuning video that I did with a gentleman called Andy, one of the developers of Adhere Pilot, who was kind of helping me get the tune on this an awful lot closer. Now, the way it's been working up to now is what you had to do was you had to buy the original plane with the standard engines and nacelles, and then you had to take it apart, and as I did in that series, kind of do the conversion yourself and throw lots of parts in the bin, and that was incredibly wasteful. However, they then started to bundle the two kits together, the original plane and the VTOL conversion kit, and finally they've seen the light, and now they are offering it ready to go. So you don't need to do any of the building or messing about or figuring out how everything goes together. This is how it comes. The other big news is that hidden in here is a flight controller, and that flight controller is flashed and set up with Adhere Pilot with all the quad plane stuff done, so it's more or less ready to go. Almost, but I'll get to that in a moment. Now, lots of people are getting into VTOL like me at the moment. It means that you can fly planes like this in more confined spaces. You can take off and land within a 6 foot 2 meter square, and then you can fly around and have the advantages of the long flight times of fixed wing, but the convenience of being able to land it in a very small area. Now, I've got quite a few VTOLs here. Jumper Zake 800, that is a cheap and cheerful VTOL, very good value for money, but not without its problems. Lots of people have taken that, ripped the flight controller out and put their own one in. There is the OMP Hobby, the ZMO VTOL, and also the ZMO VTOL Pro. Those are much bigger models. They cost about 5 times what the Zake 800 does, and unfortunately that's out of the reach of most pilots. The reason that this has been so successful as a platform for people trying VTOL FPV stuff is that it's not really expensive, and lots of us already had the plane that we could do the conversion with as well. It's a really compact way of putting it all together, and you can still take the wings off, you can still remove the tail if you really want to, so also transport is a piece of cake. So let me show you how it comes in the box. The specs are identical to the stuff that's already been sold. It just means that it's been built and tested and set up at the factory rather than you have to figure that stuff out on the bench. The way it's put together is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. It comes in these beautiful separate boxes for both the main body, the tail section, the electronics, and the wings as well. The ESCs and everything are all pre-installed. The engine nacelles are there. The servo control rods aren't connected up, so you are going to have to do those. And the tail, when you connect it and build it and put it on the back of the tail boom itself, you're going to have to route the cable from the elevator at the back all the way through to the front and do some basic connections. But to be honest, it's not going to take you too long to put it together. In terms of building is pretty easy. The only extra step over the standard Ranger T1 is plugging in that tail ESC motor. There's a spare PWM output on the flight controller. It's the only one that's available, so you just plug it into there and you're good to go. They have placed the GPS and compass in a slightly unusual place. I tend to put mine here at the back, or even potentially sink it into one of the wings and make that wing unremovable. But they've stuck it here under here. Now, I did get in touch with HEEWING and ask them about that. Interestingly, they have put a shield underneath it. It's a plate of aluminium. Personally, I'd be more excited if it was a plate of something called MU metal, MU metal. That's designed to stop magnetic and RF interference. The reason for that is that this is typically where you're going to put your HD system. HD systems are notorious for stepping all over GPS systems, not necessarily because they operate at exactly the same frequencies, the 1.2, 1.3 gigahertz that the GPS is typically running on, but having the GPS really close, some of the harmonic frequencies that you get from the HT system, which is in that range, can knock your GPS out. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. The cable for the GPS is super long, so if I need to move it, I absolutely can. But it's nice to put some kind of shielding underneath it. Hopefully they have tried it out with a HD system and it works great. The trickiest thing that I found in this whole build was getting the servo lead from the tail all the way through this boom alongside the 3 wires that go into the back part, into the ESC that runs this rear motor. There is a little wire puller that's actually in the kit. I'm going to keep this wire puller on my desk because it's incredibly handy. You can stick that through, hook the end of the servo cable and pull it all the way through. It's an fantastic little addition and really shows that HEEWING, when they put this kit together, have really thought about making it as easy as possible. This is probably one of the fastest VTOL kits that you can put together that has a tail like this. There is a USB cable connector on the flight controller itself. You need this little adapter cable that comes in the kit, and then you can plug it into the computer, run good old Mission Planner and connect to it and have a good look around. In terms of what I found, well, it looks and feels exactly like a fully supported flight controller in Mission Planner. All the tabs work as expected. Nothing seems to be missing, unlike some other systems that I've played with in VTOL that tend to be intentionally or accidentally messed about when they've made specific targets for the flight controller that's in there. There is a warning as I'm going around here that the compass is a problem. Don't worry about that. That's only because the GPS compass unit is not powered by the USB being connected. When it is, that all appears, but that means that, you do have to go through your compass calibration with the system plugged into a flight battery. So be aware of that. Make sure that you don't attach your props until the very end. Tune and setup of the Q parameters for the VTOL stuff look pretty basic. So I would definitely treat this, if you are new to Mission Planner, I would follow along with the setup videos that are in that series that I've linked down below, because you're going to have to do a radio calibration, a compass calibration. You're going to have to go and set up your FPV stuff if you add that in as well. Now, to improve the tune on this, I have got HEEWING talking to the RD Pilot development team, and hopefully they can work on improving the default setup in here. On the website, it does say very, very clearly that this setup on here is kind of a starting point. And I've got in touch with HEEWING and I said, that's a bit of a cop-out, really. You could do a far better job of getting the flight controller set up so that it's more like a DJI experience, and the manual just tells you how to set your radio up, how to install your FPV stuff, and how to do your maiden, and away you go. They've absolutely listened to that, and they are now talking to the RD Pilot development team with a view to creating a much better, closer, tighter setup, both for the fixed wing elements and the hovering takeoff and landing elements, and also those transitions too. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that, and if something is announced about that, then I'll absolutely let you know, because I think HEEWING, by doing that, by having a flight controller that seems to behave itself with Mission Planner, means that this could be a fantastic way for new pilots who haven't already got one of these to enter the world of VTOL and make it pretty easy for them. But for those of you that don't want to mess about with the conversion, that just want to get the system where all the cabling's done, all the hard work, all the screws are in, all that stuff, then this is absolutely what I would be recommending now. The conversion kits are fun, and I've had a blast doing mine, but actually everything feels a little bit tighter on this than mine as well. I think there's a dabs of glue in a couple of places where, now I've seen this, I might go and actually tighten those up on my individual build that I did here that used a conversion kit. Now, it looks like that something may have changed from when I recorded the bulk of this video. On the website there is still the note saying the VTOL parameters preloaded are for reference only, fly at your own risk, we're not responsible for any issues arising from such a crash, you may adjust the parameters accordingly. However, on their page on Facebook, they are a little bit more bullish. They're saying that every units of the VTOL Pro PNP are test flown in VTOL mode, so they obviously haven't tested the transitions and the fixed wing flight element, and you just need to hook up your receiver and battery and test it. So which is right? Well, I think the only way we're going to find that out is for me to put this through its paces and actually pop a receiver in, pop some FPV gear in, and see how good that setup is straight from the factory. But I just wanted to show you this, so those of you that maybe have been thinking about getting a HEEWING Ranger T-1 VTOL but didn't want to go through all the conversion stuff, now you don't have to. Thank you for watching the video. If you watch my videos and find them useful, then please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. If you really like what I'm doing here, you can become a Patreon and support the time I spend helping others and get access to lots of exclusive benefits. Link is in the video description. Remember that all the videos on the channel are organised into playlists, so you can easily use those playlists to find all the videos on a subject that you are interested in. Add Painless 360 to your searches on Google and YouTube, and it'll help you find my content for any particular topic. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy flying.